Our mission for Project 3 has 3 parts, and it's a very substantial project that will take you 2 weeks. The 3 parts are to create a 5-page sitemap, a style tile, and 5 wireframes for a proposed redesign of the website of a nonprofit of your choice. So let's walk through the grading rubric first of all to make sure that we understand it and that we are in a position to complete it. So the 5-page sitemap, a sitemap being rough sketches of key pages in a website. Our 5-page sitemap will have to have 5 pages with titles, navigation between them, and a title overall, just to describe what it is that we have put together. Then we have to put together 5 wireframes. These will be pages properly sized with layouts for key content, placeholder text where necessary, and if appropriate and where necessary, some key real content. Finally, our style tile needs 2 font faces, 5 colors for a color scheme, a logo, a proposed hero image, any extras that you think would be helpful, and links and patterns. Then, when you submit all of this as 3 separate files, which can be saved to XD format, PDF format, or PNG format. And you can export from Illustrator or Photoshop or any drawing program, even Microsoft PowerPoint or something like that. But one way or another, get your 3 files into a PDF or a PNG, or if you are working in XD, I will accept an XD file. So this is the plan, and we'll be coming back to it. Let's start with selecting a project to redesign. Now, my selection is the Marshall project. It's named after civil rights and civil liberties lawyer Marshall, blanked on his first name, but he actually, you can probably get that from here. I think it's John, right? Marshall. Okay, I'm gonna look this up. Yeah, John. Okay, so it's named after Chief Justice John Marshall, who became a Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, but before he was an activist attorney. So this is the website I chose, and I have some ideas about how it should be designed. It's essentially a blog, and my thinking is that it might be better presented if the news items were on a separate page and the home page was more of an introduction to the site. So that's really the main thing that I'm thinking would be done to redesign this site. And we've discussed how to do a comparative analysis. I've looked at other sites, and that was the main idea I came up with, along with some ideas to maybe replace the serif font with a couple of sans serif fonts and some other ideas. There's a lot I like about the design of the site, but there's also some things that I thought I could restructure. So again, a lot of thinking here. I'm compressing all of this, but I spent some time studying other sites, making some sketches, exploring the site, putting myself in the shoes of a user, and that's essentially what I came up with. So that's the first thing that I need to do. I need to have a website that I am planning on redesigning. And in the narrative that I write for my project, I'm going to explain why I chose the Marshall project and what my thinking was about how it could be redesigned going in. The 5-page sitemap is a sketch, and I did mine in Adobe XD. And you see I have 3 XD files. Now this is the easiest part, at least in terms of drawing it. It's really not a lot going on here. I'll make it a little bit bigger. Okay, a little bit smaller. And you can see that I'm being careful to identify that this is an unofficial proposed, I think I should change it from support, unofficial proposed change in design for the Marshall project website. And then I provided a link to that website, and while I'm doing this stuff, why don't I center it in the thought this would be a little easier, but it's okay. So as you can see, here's my proposed restructuring of the site, that they have a home page, they have an about page, and they have a news page. And then the donate and subscribe pages would be separate. Even as the home page would have previews of all these pages. So let me go back to my, let me see, I've got page titles, I've got navigation, and a page title. It sounds kind of redundant, but here's the page title, and here's the page titles, and here's the navigation. People would come to the home page, go to the about page. I think since there would be navigation between each page through a menu, I think I could be safe to say that there's going to be navigation between these pages as well. So I touched up my navigation flow here. Anyway, any of these pages can be reached from the home page. Any of these pages can be reached from a preceding page, and the home page can be accessed from any of these pages. So again, the sitemap in this case is pretty simple. If this was a 1,000-page website, it'd be more complicated. But that, I think, covers most of the basic elements of the sitemap. Now let's go back to our rubric. And in real life, of course, you won't have a grading rubric. You'll have a set of objectives and things that you have to accomplish on the site based on the notes that you put together from talking to stakeholders. Next, we need 5 wireframes. Now, these wireframes have to have basic page layout, they have to have some placeholder text, and some key real content. Well, I've gotten a start on that, again, working in XD. So here's the home page. Here's what I guess you could call some real close enough. I want to keep the hero. The hero images will change. I want to have little graphical boxes for news, about, donate, and subscribe. And then on the news page itself, I want each topic to have a row, and then related items to have boxes that lead to and open up that blog item. Now I haven't done anything on the About page. Here I might go grab some real text from the Marshall project, which does have an About page. And maybe I'll just take their mission statement to provide sort of an example of how this is going to go together. So back to my wireframes, and let me draw some text here. So this would give stakeholders, people reviewing this proposal, a sense of how the page will come together. And I won't do the work for you, but I could do something like that for the donate and subscribe pages too. So I'm not doing the whole project here. There are some things that you're still going to need to complete. I want to, by the way, this is like way too big, so let me just go to a little more normal font here. One of the things I'm doing here is I have a header on the page, and the header actually has a logo that you'll see I created. It's kind of like white bars and the black background and the light of the Marshall project shining through. I'll get into how I threw that logo together. I'm not a talented or expert logo designer, but it's something that I thought at least maybe a talented and expert logo designer could work with. There's nothing wrong with being candid about your limitations. Oh, the thing I was going to demonstrate is that I took advantage of a feature in XD to organize content in columns, and so the idea is the home page and all the subsequent pages will have content that stays inside of these columns. Touch that up a little bit. You know, a wireframe doesn't have to be that accurate. I mean, I think I said I will accept these if they're done just, even a hand sketch. Now, one thing I want to do here, though, is I actually want the three-part hero image to extend across the whole page. So let me make some adjustments here. Hero 1, Hero 2, and Hero 3. So, and then I'll just toggle the layout columns off, and I actually want the hero image to be kind of a coherent thing. So I'm gonna do something here, just like a black background, so that it's clear that this hero is kind of a unified thing with three different, and I just threw gradients up behind there to kind of give reviewers an idea that these things are going to be interactive. I'm not actually going to make them interactive. So this is a start. There's more to fill in on this prototype, but it's got the pages. I got a good start on 2 of them. More to do on most of them, and really got to fill in the donate page. But I think this is a close enough start for you to get a sense of what this should be like. A couple other things just to show you. One is that Adobe XD provided me with sizes for a home page, and where the fold, that is where the viewport ends, at the bottom of the screen. So that 1920 by 1080 I got from XD is a typical laptop dimension. However, if I wasn't working in XD or didn't have a program where I could get that, I could look that up online. Just Google what's a typical what are typical dimensions for a laptop screen, and if you found other ones, that would be acceptable too. Now let's go back and see how we're doing on our. So we've got the site. We got the sitemap. We've got the wireframes. Probably have to go over this a little more carefully. There's things that aren't fleshed out, but we've got the basic thing. Finally, the style tile. Now the style tile is going to be the most consuming. It's going to be key, and it's going to be key to making the transition from this design to a full-fledged website. So my first step is to go to style tile. It's the URL is actually styleti.es for whatever reason. I downloaded their template. The template is a Photoshop file, but it opens in any Adobe product. And if you don't have an Adobe product, I think you'll have to use your PSD. Are there any other? Yeah, I think I'm kind of going to leave it to you. Now, I think I've emphasized, maybe I haven't even mentioned it, but XD is free and it opens Photoshop files. So this is step one. I downloaded this file and I opened it in Adobe XD. And let me focus on that for a minute here. So I did a little cleaning up. There was some layers that came in Photoshop that I didn't need. And here's what I ended up with. So got my style tile. These are the elements that are required. There's some other elements too. And then I kind of put together the different pieces. The title I just typed in. The colors I haven't filled in yet. The textures I haven't filled in with yet. I have to have a hero image and a logo, and I have to have some sample text. So first of all, for the colors, I went to Adobe Color and I searched for courage, because that was something that I thought was appropriate. And by the way, an adjective that I need to use in my style tile. Style tiles have to have adjectives. I left that out here, but it came with the style tile template. So just so I don't forget, I'm going to just put adjectives. Did I type them out? You know what? I'm just going to type them in right now. So they're courageous, honest, truthful, dedicated, determined, and spirited. Okay, and these adjectives, the purpose of them is just to give reviewers a feel for what kind of a vibe you're going to have on your website. So I'll stack mine up here. Probably a better way to display them, but that's a quick and dirty way. Maybe touch that up later. So I didn't want to forget the adjectives. They are part of the requirements. Let me go back and see if they made it into the rubric. Nope, they didn't. But I want to see them, so hopefully you're paying attention now. If you miss that, you can rewind. What? Pay attention. Uh-oh, rewind. I want to see adjectives. They're part of the style tile template that you're going to get from styletile.es, TIL.es, and you want to fill in everything that you see there. So I looked for a color scheme, got diverted from color schemes. I grabbed one and I put it in my XD file so I can use that as needed. And I think I'll just put that in place now. So drag that up and replace the color scheme that I got here with my own set of colors. Now I want to zoom in here for a minute and show you that when I put this together, I included the hexadecimal values. And if you're thinking ahead, you're thinking, oh, I get it. When we come to translate this into a CSS file, we're going to want those hexadecimal files, and you would be correct. And the other thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go get one of these colors and make this white. Oops, didn't have the right thing selected. Okay, and then this button will have a background color of my blue. And let me get that font again. And that again will be white. No. Now I think I got it selected right. Okay. And you know, the other thing I might do here is just put a little bit of border radius on these things. So maybe border radius. There we go. Maybe a 5-pixel border radius just to make it a little bit rounded. I know really straight ones are trendier these days, but just we'll take a little bit of the edge off the buttons. And then I collected some here's that. Let's call it a logo prototype. My logos don't really rise to the level of being a decent logo, but I can share that concept with a talented designer and they'll make something out of it. That's kind of what I do. So, got the idea here. So I've got my color scheme together, I've got my textures together. The color scheme I got from Adobe Color. We'll get back to the fonts later. And one of the things that I like about the Marshall Project site is the way they use these kind of, they're not here, but they use these kind of graphical, they're a little bit Jacob Lawrence-y things. I don't know if that's right. They're not even that consistent. But they have some of these graphics that I think give the site a lot of its feel and its strength. I'd actually like to see that done more consistently. So when it came to coming up with some patterns in XD that would give a feel for kind of the vibe of the site, the textures. Texture, it's not texture like an explicit texture, like a fabric texture. It's more like the way that term is used sometimes in literature is the texture of something, just kind of more the vibe, the feel. So my style tile sort of coming together, it's giving people a feel for how this might look. What it doesn't have are fonts, and so I went to Google Fonts and picked out some fonts that look good. Now here's a challenge. The font, these are web fonts. They're supported online. If they're Google fonts, we can use them. However, translating them into the package that I'm drawing them in, like Adobe XD, is a hassle. So it's a little bit of a cheat on my part, but it's a legitimate cheat. Here I just took a screen grab of how this font would look, and I popped that into XD. So my fonts are actually screen grabs of the fonts that I'm planning to use, and they'll give the user or they'll give reviewers a chance to decide what they think, and they identify what style they are. So for example, this is Lotto 400 and Lotto 300, and when it comes to building a style sheet, I can duplicate all that. The only thing missing here, I think, of the required elements is the hero, and I'm not going to do that. I'll let you do that one on your own. So now I've got my three basic elements, saving them periodically. I got my sitemap. I'll go over it. There's probably, when I double check against or triple check against the grading rubric, probably missed something, but this is basically it. My style tile, I'm going to save. This other stuff that's floating around that I just had off the artboard won't save with it. And then the wireframes still need to be fleshed out. And each of these files I'm going to save as, I could do them as a ping or anything, but I want to export them so they'll be easy for anybody to open. So file export, and I'm going to do all artboards here, and I'll export them as pings. They're going to be shared on the web, so I'm going to export them all, and I'll put them in, let's see, Sitemap. I'll do the chapter 3 and save them all here. And now they are ready to, at least this one is ready to turn in. So it's, and I'll have to do that with the sitemap and the style tile as well. So I think that actually will get you through the project. And of course there's questions and I'll be hearing from you, but I think this is enough to give you a basic guideline for how you're going to pull off this 2-week project.